Hello and welcome to the news at 7. Tonight, snowy conditions continue in the northeast. The thaw may be coming, but for now the temperature is staying low. We'll meet some of the volunteers helping out.
Me and Dad saved somebody yesterday. We pulled someone out in the car. So that was in Aberdeen yesterday, yeah.
Also tonight we'll speak to the doctors who've just called off their strike plans. A victim of a repeat catfisher tells us her story and reveals how she discovered their real identity. And we'll have all the sport with Jane. What have you got tonight?
Well, it's an important weekend of European rugby for Glasgow and Edinburgh, and we'll look ahead to it all in the company of former Scotland flanker Chris Forsaro.
And later, the doctor is using groundbreaking gene therapy to treat heart conditions. Hello, I'm Lucy White. Welcome to the news at 7. It's been one of the most severe episodes of wintry weather in years, and the problems are continuing in many parts of the country. In a moment, we'll hear from our weather presenter Kirstine about just how significant this cold snap has been. But first, Rebecca Curran reports from Aberdeen.
It was yet another snow day for thousands of pupils in the north and east of the country who haven't set foot in a classroom since before Christmas. Most schools in Aberdeenshire and Aberdeen City remained shut today, as did many in the Highlands and in Murray. And while most of the main routes are now looking far more clear, many people are still unable to get their cars moving out of streets and villages because of the sheer amount of snow that's fallen in the past week. First Minister John Swinney was in Aberdeen today to hear about the response to the severe weather.
It's going to be difficult to take away all impacts on the population, but the efforts that have been put in to clear the transport networks, to make sure that people have access to supplies and to public services, has been the central consideration of the Scottish Government and our local partners.
A fresh weather warning for snow and ice came into place for much of Scotland from midday today until 3 p.m. tomorrow. Then there's a further yellow warning for snow and ice overnight tomorrow too. And Aberdeenshire Council say there's a risk of flooding as temperatures begin to increase at the start of next week. This is the 9th consecutive day of really tricky conditions in this area of Scotland, and it seems that the disruption could continue in the days to come. Rebecca Curran, reporting Scotland, Aberdeen.
Well, let's speak now to our weather forecaster, Kirstine McDonald. Kirstine, what a week.
Yes, indeed. Scotland has been in the grip of this prolonged spell of Arctic weather now, as we've been hearing from Rebecca there, for around 9 days. We've had 9 consecutive days of Met Office warnings, wintry warnings. We've had the lower tier yellow warnings for snow and ice almost countrywide at times, and the higher tier amber warnings across parts of the north and the northeast. We've had considerable snowfall, and particularly in these areas. Now, in terms of the highest recorded snow depths, that's been in Tom and Towel, 52 centimetres of snow. And these figures just giving an idea of what we have had during this period as a whole. And we still have around 27 centimetres of lying snow in Loch Carnoch and in Altnahara in the Highlands, just to give a couple of examples in terms of these areas. But in terms of the coldest temperature we've had during this spell, well, that was in Tom and Towel in Murray, with a low of minus 14.7 Celsius on the morning of the 8th of January.
That's painful temperatures, isn't it, Kirstine?
Yes, indeed.
And just how unusual is this?
Well, generally speaking, this cold spell has been unusual in terms of us seeing more widespread snow, which has been unusually heavy too for some of the major towns and cities across the north and the northeast, certainly compared with recent years. The prolonged nature of it too has also been unusual. Temperature-wise, though, it's not too unusual. To give the temperatures some context, we did have a cold snap this time last year where temperatures fell to minus 18.9 Celsius. That was in Altnahara in the Highlands on the morning of the 11th of January. And we did have a period around a week this time last year where we had temperatures well below freezing by night and at times by day too, especially in the north, and negative double digits 3 nights in a row across the snowfields. And on this exact date last year, we had 26 centimetres of lying snow at Loch Carnach in the Highlands, albeit not as widespread as it is this year.
Indeed, Kirstine, thank you so much. We'll have more from you later on.
Yes, indeed.
Now, Scotland's resident doctors have called off a planned 4-day strike over pay. They've been due to go on the first national walkout staged by NHS workers on Tuesday, having accused ministers of going back on promises. But after further negotiations, the British Medical Association is to suspend the strike and put a fresh pay offer to members and is recommending that it's accepted. Dr Chris Smith is from the BMA.
So the background of this proposed strike goes back to 2023, when we last had a strike mandate and managed to avoid it at the last minute. We agreed a deal with the Scottish Government that meant in each year we would receive pay uplifts that went a bit of a way, a credible way, to reversing years of historical pay erosion. Now, we felt that the pay offer that the Scottish Government imposed upon us last year didn't meet that threshold. So we balloted our members and they agreed, and they gave us a strike mandate. We took that back into the negotiating room and we worked with the Scottish Government, and I'm delighted to say that we've both compromised and reached a position where I can feel that we can offer something to the resident doctor membership of Scotland to vote on and therefore postpone again the proposed industrial action.
What would you say to our audience who might think that doctors are really well paid already, and what have they got to strike about?
So the reason that doctors had voted to strike is that in historical terms, at the beginning of this financial year, our pay was down by more than 17% in real terms against where it was in 2008. Now that means for some doctors just starting, they were on just over £17 an hour, which is not a lot for the amount of responsibility and the amount of training that these exceptional professionals have had to go through.
It's a relatively last-minute call-off. Is there likely to still be some disruption next week?
So this is a relatively last-minute call-off, but I hope this has been achieved with enough time to minimise disruption. That was, once it was clear that there might be a way through this dispute, a shared ambition of the government and doctors. We didn't want to go on strike and we didn't want to cause this disruption. It was always a last resort, and I am glad and I'm proud that we've managed to come through this at a compromise position that we can build for in the future. What was the deal in 2023 has now been reverted to, and it was working for doctors, it was working for the government, and it was working for patients. I hope we can move forward in a constructive way and sort of put this disruption to bed, at least for a little while.
Dr Smith, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, you might have heard the term catfishing. It's when somebody creates a fake online identity to trick somebody into a relationship. Some perpetrators create entire personas to fool their victims. Adele Rennie posed as a man online to target women. She was convicted of catfishing offences between 2017 and last year when she returned to prison after messaging a victim just days after being released from jail. In one instance, she posed as a florist delivering flowers from her male alter ego. She also pretended to be a male doctor, pharmacist and lawyer, sometimes using a voice-changing app. Gillian Sharp's been speaking to one of her victims who says that even 10 years on, she doesn't know why Rennie pretended to be a doctor called David. She's chosen the pseudonym Samantha.
I got a friend request on Facebook and it was from David, and it was this really attractive looking man. Back then, didn't think anything about, people add you on Facebook. To me, that's more of a kind of a platform that's more kind of like open, and I didn't think anything of it. Accepted him as a friend, and then he started messaging me like privately on Facebook.
And were you interested?
I think, yeah, I thought it was one of those, but at that time I wasn't looking for a boyfriend, I wasn't looking for a relationship at that time. But it was one of those where I thought, oh, do you know what, he seems nice, he seems really normal.
And things started to change though, didn't they, Samantha?
It did kind of go from, being nice general chit chat to then a wee bit kind of overwhelming, where it was like the constant calls, the constant what are you up to, where are you, who are you with kind of thing. I was a bit like, right, steady here, because we've not even met. Every time I tried to arrange a date or he arranged a date, something would happen. Someone would fall ill. A family member would pass. So like he said, his gran passed one time as well. There was also times where he then says that he got cancer in the eye. That's one of the reasons that he couldn't come and meet me. Yeah, there was always an excuse to basically not meet me.
And as you're listing those excuses, were there any red flags? Did you at any point think, this is not right?
It was one of those where I think I might have been a wee bit in denial then. It was one of those where every single time it did become a point where I was like, right, I wonder what excuse you'll come up with now. I was on the phone, I said, when does your shift start? 9. And I was like, perfect, right, so this was 8 o'clock at night. So I said to my mum, my sister, right, let's go guys, they're starting at 9 o'clock. And we sat there and it was a rainy night, so we were all sat huddled and I'm kind of laid down in the back on the phone. And I was like, right, are you on your way? Yep, I'm just pulling into the hospital now. So I'm like, okay, brilliant. At that point then she walks over and I see that it's a woman. I was like, I can't believe that this whole time I've been talking to this David and it's actually this girl.
What did you do after that?
So at that point I was like, right, this needs to stop. I then messaged saying, hi David, I know you're not who you say you are. I know exactly who you are. I said, do not contact me again. You know, this is beyond weird that you've done this.
And did you go to the police?
Yes, so I went to the police and I explained all this to them and they said as well, like, let's, you know, just block everything, like, so that they can't get in contact with you.
Adele has, of course, gone to prison several times, but you didn't want your experience to be part of that?
No, I'll be honest, at that time, I didn't realise there was so many other girls. I thought it was just me at that point. So in that way, if I'd have known that there was more, you know, other women involved in this, I would have probably said to the police, listen, yes, let's take this further.
This is 10 years on, Samantha. How do you reflect on all this?
I think looking back at it now, I'm more like, wow, I cannot believe that happened. You know, I feel like I'm more in shock of it now than I was then, to be honest. It's definitely made me a lot more aware of the dangers of basically online, like social medias, all that kind of thing. It really has.
Adele is due to get out of prison in a few months.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
I think it's one of those where, for me, when I say I feel sorry for her, it's not that I feel sorry for her, but it would be good to understand kind of what went on in her head. Why did she do this?
Well, earlier I spoke to Demelza Luna Reaver from the Cyber Helpline. She's an expert on catfishing. I asked her why people commit these kind of crimes.
There's a lot of reasons why people might behave in this way. Some may be seeking power and control over the victim survivor. Some may be seeking a romantic connection, but in a very, very wrong way. And some may also be seeking financial gain. The reasons are quite various, and it may differ dependent on the case. And it may also involve all of those aspects.
And in the time that we live in, it's really common, isn't it, for people to make connections online and, you know, find potential partners online. So how can somebody tell if someone is genuine?
Sure. So I completely hear what you're saying. It can be really tricky, especially when you're meeting online and you're seeing pictures and messaging as well on dating apps or social media. In those situations, I would say be cautious, prepare with not maybe sharing a huge amount of personal information at that initial stage, potentially seek meeting that person in real life, so in a local area potentially as well. If you're not sure if those images that you're seeing are accurate, you can always conduct a reverse image search. So you can save the images and pop them into Google and see if they pop up anywhere else also, but also being curious about what they're saying. Are they kind of framing their messages towards maybe a certain aim that might be towards financial gain? Have they suddenly appeared as well at a point where you might be vulnerable and they're saying all of the right things, and it can seem a really wonderful thing at that time, but also a point where we need to be considerate that are we hearing exactly what that person needs to get us into a position where they can enact power and control over us.
Demelza Luna Reaver speaking to me there, and you can hear more about Adele Rennie's case in a new documentary, The Beauty Queen and the Catfish, is on BBC Scotland on Sunday from 9 p.m, and it's also on iPlayer. A man's been arrested and charged in connection with a series of break-ins in Orkney. Evie McGowan has more.
Well Park Garden Centre is one of 5 premises in Kirkwall that has experienced a break-in this week in what has been an unusual crime spree here in Orkney. Other establishments include Orkney Islands Council offices, Highland Park Distillery, Papdale Primary School and Ortac Jewellers, where some items were discovered missing on Tuesday morning but were later recovered lying in the snow. Employees here at the Garden Centre were surprised on Thursday morning to come in and find that not only had there been an intruder, but one particular item in the store was missing.
It looked like they'd damaged a couple of doors in the office, but the safes hadn't been touched, thankfully. And when we looked through everything, it just looked like the tip jar had been taken. Thought that was kind of rude, really. You just don't think this is going to happen in such a small community, you know, because it's really safe here in Orkney.
Police have confirmed that all 5 incidents are being treated as linked. More officers are being sent out on patrol to reassure people here in the community. They're advising people to lock their doors and make sure their windows are closed, something that's not always done here in Orkney because it's such a safe place. Evie McGowan, reporting Scotland from Kirkwall.
Now, still to come, we'll have the weather with Kirstine and the Scottish doctors using groundbreaking gene therapy to treat heart conditions. But first, it's sport with Jane.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Martin O'Neill's latest stint in the Celtic dugout begins in earnest tomorrow as his side host Dundee United. And there's much anticipation as to whether the Northern Irishman can lift the Parkhead club out of their current slump. Well, this is how the Premiership table looks going into the weekend. Celtic 6 points behind leaders Hearts and 3 off Rangers, with both of them playing on Sunday. Well, Dundee United will arrive in the East End of Glasgow, hoping to replicate the kind of performance which saw them beat Celtic 2-1 last month. On that occasion, Jim Goodwin's opposite number was Wilfred Nancy, and he expects a very different challenge facing an O'Neill team.
You know, we have to hope that we can go there and put on the type of performance that we did here, you know, only a few weeks ago, albeit against what we expect is going to be a different system and different personnel in amongst it, and we know how difficult a trip to Celtic Park is. You know, history would tell you how difficult it's been for us to get a result there, but we have to be confident. You know, we have to give a good account of ourselves first and foremost, and we have to believe that we can upset the party, so to say.
So here's how the fixtures look over the weekend. That 5th versus 4th clash between Hibernian and Motherwell, that could be intriguing. And there's a basement battle as Livingston at the foot of the table take on second bottom Kilmarnock in Neil McCann's first game as Killie manager. Then on Sunday, leaders Hearts visit in-form Dundee and Rangers face Aberdeen for the second time in 6 days. Well, Danny Rule will be without injured midfielder Connor Barron for 3 months. And today the German was asked if there'd be any new faces joining before Sunday's match.
Hopefully yes, but of course then it's a big decision. Maybe the new signings they didn't train so much with the group. You have to make sure they are ready, give them also the right opportunity to show what they can do, and this is then a big decision for me in the next 24 hours.
Now it's a big weekend of European rugby for both Edinburgh and Glasgow. This evening, Sean Everett's men face Gloucester at home, needing a win to keep their hopes of progression realistic, while Franco Smith's side are hoping to continue their impressive form away to Clermont. Well, earlier I spoke to former Warriors and Scotland flanker Chris Fusaro for his thoughts on both games. I started by asking him about the return of Duhan van der Merwe for Edinburgh.
Well, he's a talisman for Edinburgh, and I think when he gets the ball in space going forward, he's pretty much unstoppable. And in front of a home crowd at the Hive in Edinburgh, hopefully they can get the ball out to him. I know the weather's not going to be great; it might be a bit more of a forwards game, but if he can get his hands on ball early and get his confidence up, I think he can do some real damage.
Let's turn our attention to Glasgow Warriors then, in action tomorrow, going so well in this European competition. You would fancy their chances tomorrow, wouldn't you, against Clermont, who've yet to pick up any points?
Yeah, I think the French teams are notorious, especially in Europe. If they don't win their first couple of games, they'll put out a slightly weakened side and focus on what is for them the top 14 and probably the most important part of their season. So, yeah, not that a weakened side would take anything away from a victory for Glasgow, but I think the way Glasgow have been playing, they've really hit their straps kind of middle of the season, and coming off both of those wins against Edinburgh and that game against Toulouse, which some people have said is the best Glasgow performance they've ever seen back at Scotstoun in December. I think they should have real confidence, and regardless of whether it's home or away, yeah, I think they'll go over and win in Claremont.
And Glasgow seem to have put a real kind of focus on European success for this season. Is that something you think they can achieve? Because they've been slowly getting there, but can they go all the way this season, do you think?
It's difficult when you see the calibre of other teams in the competition, but on the flip side of that, you saw what they did to Toulouse, who came, fully loaded to Scotstoun. So if they can beat Claremont tomorrow and then hopefully pick up another win against Saracens next week, it'll put them in the best possible situation. Last 16 quarters, even semis would be a great achievement for Glasgow. And never say never. Franco's got them in a great spot. They've got so much talent at the moment and a real depth to their squad. A lot of young guys have come through in the last couple of years, so there's a real hunger in the squad for that success. And fingers crossed they can take the next step.
Yeah, good luck to them. Busy weekend.
Indeed, Jade, thank you so much for that. Now, a man from Stornoway has been given a new lease of life after becoming the first person in the world to receive groundbreaking cardiac gene therapy. 73-year-old John McDonald suffered a heart attack last summer. While he was recovering, he signed up for a clinical trial in Glasgow. Doctors treated a vein in his leg, which was used as a graft to create a new route for blood to flow to his heart, with a protein which prevents the graft getting blocked. Professor Colin Berry, who oversees the ongoing project, spoke to me earlier and had an update on John.
I believe he's doing very well. He's been in the media this week and it looks like he's really doing well with his family.
Can you take us back then to the beginning of this and the reasons for it?
So coronary artery bypass surgery, heart bypass surgery, is a commonly performed procedure. Around 25,000 operations are performed in the UK each year. But by 10 years, the vein grafts commonly are blocked. And this is a problem for patients. It leads to recurrent angina, recurrent heart attack. So our team is all about trying to improve the outcomes for our patients, not just in Scotland and the UK, but worldwide.
So it's about the longevity of the work that's already been put in.
Yes. Yes.
And as good as that will be for the patients,
yep.
I'd imagine long term also good for the health service as well?
Very much. So blocked vein grafts is a very difficult problem to treat. Repeat surgery is really not an option. Stents can be challenging to place in blocked grafts. Medication, well, the patients are already receiving medication, so we need to do something more. So this is a really exciting development with an advanced therapy that's been developed from the science laboratory by Professor Andrew Baker and his team, by clinicians leading into heart bypass surgery led by Noir Al-Attar, the Golden Jubilee National Hospital. So this is small first steps. Safety is encouraging. We do have a journey ahead through our phases of the clinical study development.
So you say there is some journey ahead then. What could the next step be?
So in the coming year, we wish to enrol a further at least 10 patients. We have 2 patients in the study so far. We then need to follow the patients up with heart CT scans. We will be already planning the next stage study, probably involving around 120 patients. All of these patients, again, will have scans of the grafts. We're looking at whether the grafts stay open, and so far so good. And then we would be looking to run that study in several hospitals. We also want to try and bring this study to this therapy to the clinic as soon as possible. So we're working in novel ways to try and avoid delays.
That was Dr. Colin Berry there. Now back to the snow, and one teenager from Aberdeen has been helping out his dad on gritting runs with occasional stops to help stranded motorists. 13-year-old Jamie Monaghan was so tired after one run, he fell asleep in the cab.
If anyone asks or anything, we'll just go help them. And me and Dad saved somebody yesterday. We pulled someone out in the car. So that was in Aberdeen yesterday, yeah. We pulled 2 folk out in the same spot. It was just bad hill. It was, yeah.
Wow.
Fine.
How did they react when you pulled them out?
Oh, they were fair chuffed.
What did they say to you?
They're like, oh, thank you so much, and they're offering us money and stuff, and we're like, no, it's fine, we're passing anyway. Dad got a phone call saying we need to have an extra grip because it's meant to be really icy tonight. This was last night, and after we got the phone call, me and Dad, we had a supper and we just headed out in the gritter. This was maybe 8 o'clock we left, and we got back maybe 11:30 at night, and I was shattered. So I fell asleep in the lorry because I was just too tired.
Kirstein's here with the weather. He was certainly putting in the work, wasn't he?
Do you know, Lucy, it's been bringing out the best in people, though, hasn't it? Helping in communities and everything. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah. What's coming up then?
We have another wintry weekend in forecast, really, and we've had fresh snow accumulations in places again today. This picture from West Linton in the Borders, and a gorgeous shot here from Breckish on the Isle of Skye, and more snow across parts of Dumbartonshire today too. And as I say, there's more on the way. Good evening to you. Yes, we have a Met Office yellow warning for snow and ice across the bulk of Scotland, taking us through until 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. And a wintry weekend in prospect, but then signs of things turning that bit milder. A spell of snow on Sunday, and then a southwesterly wind developing, plenty of rain in the forecast too, and showers, but certainly temperatures on the rise. Tomorrow, though, it's a cold, frosty and icy start to the day, with further wintry showers for a time. Overall, though, I think there will be much more in the way of brightness and sunshine compared with what we've had today. Still some showers across Shetland, a brisk southeasterly wind here. Across much of the northeast, though, eastern Scotland generally, central and southern areas, plenty of crisp winter sunshine, very cold, and some showers affecting western and northwestern areas, mostly of rain and sleet. Tomorrow evening again, it turns cold under clear skies with a touch of frost, and then signs of a change developing from the Atlantic during the early hours. And so we introduce another Met Office yellow warning of snow and ice, valid from 2 o'clock on Sunday morning until 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, again across the bulk of mainland Scotland, because when that rain bumps into cold air, it'll readily turn to snow during the early hours and in the morning, even to low levels. The snow level, though, rising as we go through the day, eventually turning back to rain for most of us as temperatures become less cold than recent days, and it'll be really quite windy for many areas too. Into next week, as I say, low pressure will be dominating proceedings. Frontal systems in play, bringing some showers or longer spells of rain, but temperatures on the rise. Rain will pull away to the north during Monday morning. Following on will be a good deal of cloud and certainly some heavy showers affecting western areas. Another blustery day, but here we have double-digit temperatures for central and southern areas. We've not seen that for a while, Lucy.
No, unusual now. Kirstein, thank you so much. That's it from us for now. I'm back with you at 7 tomorrow. Keep up to date with all of the stories on the BBC News app. Enjoy your Friday night.